Hi, and welcome to Present Pilgrimage, the podcast where we explore current affairs through a spiritual lens. I'm Jennifer Winninger. I'm a white woman born in Atlanta, Georgia. I have lived in 2 African countries and visited over 25 countries all over the world. Once married to an Egyptian Muslim, I have 2 biracial and multicultural children.
I'm Iyabo Onipere. I'm a multicultural, biracial immigrant woman of color, and I have this unwavering belief that every single life has immense and incredible value. My core values center around compassion, equity, and justice.
Some of the questions Iyabo and I want to ask you all and talk about are, how can some of our more dehumanizing and limiting behaviors be examined, looked at, and transformed? Can we learn how to train ourselves to behave more humanely towards others who are seemingly different from us? Can we learn to quiet the voices of fear and suspicion and open ourselves up to connection, learning, and understanding some of our core values?
Thanks for listening to this podcast. Jennifer and I invite you to tap into your core values and join us on this journey as we explore current issues. Might we all begin to view the world through these amazing lenses of our deepest core values? Welcome. Hey, Jennifer, listen. So I want us to make the economy as part of this podcast. Like, we've got to learn that power shows up in money. Mm-hmm. Right? And what we're doing with our money impacts everything.
Yes.
Because money represents the exchange of energy between 2 people.
Yep.
So if I come to you as a therapist and I give you my money, I'm placing value in your business as a therapist. Same for me as a coach. And this is where I always get my clients to start thinking of this stuff with money. So one of the things I may ask the audience to hold us accountable about, or hold me accountable about, is the fact that I was listening to Bernie Sanders talk about Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Amazon, becoming the first trillionaire ever. Yeah. And I have Amazon Prime. I'm very proud of my Amazon Prime because it saves me so much money every year. Because if I can buy it on Amazon, I buy it on Amazon and get it 2 days later.
I hear you.
It's easy. I love it. And I'm not knocking the product, but we know there's a huge disparity between being the first trillionaire of the world and minimum wage paid folks at the bottom.
People working in the Amazon warehouses.
Right. And there are issues with Amazon's employees and how they treat their employees, right? So that's one thing. So that's one of the ways you can look at your money. The other thing is, I want to tell you, scrolling through our favorite spot on Facebook, there was this dinner party that sounded interesting to me. And what I enjoyed about reading about this dinner party was that it just had all these things. I'm a little bit of a foodie. And so they were talking about a community farmers market, this fancy 130-year-old house that you could have stuff in. And here's some of the language used to describe on the Eventbrite event. Epicurean chef hummus selection. Zesty, okay, that one's fine. Kombucha ceviche, no seafood, just veggies. Sweet potato gnocchi. I know gnocchi, that's that Italian food. Yeah. And browned butter. Pecorino romano and seasonal vegetables, right? All this stuff, it goes on and on. It's endless.
I don't know what Epicurean means.
An epicure is someone who enjoys the delectableness of life, right? So, that's the point, isn't it? Isn't it? That's exactly the point. Like, this is something being hosted in the city to support local farmers market. Good cause, right, guys? Mm-hmm. Awesome cause. I'm all about that Saturday morning farmers market stuff.
Yeah.
But when you use language like that in your marketing, you are telling certain people you're not welcome, and you're telling certain people this is just for you.
Yes.
It is exclusive for you. And there's certain people that will fall for it, hook, line, and sinker, get so excited about this, go for it, but you're making a comment with your dollars. You are saying exclusivity matters to you. And the problem with that kind of thinking is that you do not understand that you are weak. When you're exclusive, you're at your weakest because you don't have the support of a larger community of diverse people, diverse strengths, diverse thinking around you. You get into isolation when you're in that kind of mindset. And so one of the things I want us to do is interrogate where we're spending our dollars, what we value.
And what farms is that food coming from?
I don't even, it's supposed to be local farms. I don't know. And listen, it's probably going to be a great idea if you have any clue which event I'm talking about, which I did not disclose it. I'm not knocking the event. I don't know the people. But I know when I read it, I had this reaction that even though I'm a foodie, I'd love to do all this stuff, I got the message. This is not a place I would be comfortable. You're not going to see, I don't know, I just don't think that I would be comfortable in this environment.
I hear you. I appreciate you bringing that up. I myself, I love this kind of the poetry of the words, but I get uncomfortable when food gets really complicated. Yeah. And I feel like I should have more knowledge or a more complex palate than I do. Right. About certain things. And you just remind me, I went on a date years ago with this man, and he brought me to this restaurant. He knew the chef. We sat at the bar. It was the most awkward date in my life because he didn't look at me. He looked at the bartender. He never looked directly at me. He was coming out of a long-term marriage, and I think it was a lot of other stuff. But the attention and the care that was taken, which was really touching, that each plate was brought out, the description of what was being fixed, and I felt so uncomfortable because I felt like I needed to react in a way I didn't know how, and be like, ooh, and kind of ask how the vegetables were braised or what sauce, and I just don't have that in me. Right. And the bartender was like very, again, I'm sure he knew his job very well and his craft. He was very refined looking and well dressed, and he just kind of, looked at me kind of out of the side, watching me if I was like, knew as much about, if I was as much of a foodie as, my date. And I'm trying to get to know my date, and my date just is like, and he's talking to the bartender and the chef. And the chef came out and he was like, oh, I want to, make dishes with oysters. And I was like, oh, I have family in New Orleans. I can, connect you and get you some oysters from the Gulf. And he was like, oh no, I only like oysters from Seattle. So, and even like the one thing I tried to do was like, he's like, oh no, I like the, the Pacific, the Northwest Pacific, whatever kind of oysters. And I was like, all right, forget it. I just give up. And then at the end of the meal, the bartender hands us an aperitif, like an after dinner drink. And I'm like, oh, and he's like, it's 19, whatever, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. I drink it. And then I just said, oh, it tastes like moonshine. And the people next to me just cracked up. And he was like, that was it. Like, I failed.
Second date, I guess.
I failed it. It was like, it tastes like moonshine. So that was my experience with like a real foodie,
That
meal.
Is hilarious to me. Oh my gosh, Jennifer, I'm bursting at the seams. Why do I feel like the waiter was sniffing at you like...
Oh, he was. He did not like me. He just didn't like me from the get-go. We did not.
And what is the purpose? I mean, some chefs in those circles and that caliber of foodieism, it's exquisite stuff. Some of it is lovely and nice, but why do we have to have that hand in hand with pretentiousness?
Yes, that's right.
People, you can't buy class. You can't buy class. And to me, class is when you feel you have to downgrade other people for you to feel you're exclusive. Again, it's this thing of exclusivity. Now, if you really want to be a foodie, like, I think the reason I wanted us to talk about food and economy is that we all spend a lot of money at restaurants and on food. Mm-hmm. And So it's a factor of our consumption. But also, food is one of the ways we cross borders culturally, right? You know, jollof rice and all the Nigerian food and suya. Oh, by the way, I found a suya guy in Atlanta.
Did you? Is he in Buford? Or
no, he like comes to you with his little cookout stuff.
The chicken.
Yes. So anyway,
we used to go in Yola, and my ex-husband would take my son out, and they'd go to the suya.
Suya is like Nigerian grilled meat. It is to die for. Anyway, the Refuge Coffee is having a Ramadan iftar dinner this Saturday, June 9th. It starts at 6:30, but they break the fast at 8:50. So Clarkston, Georgia, where I live, most diverse 1 square mile in America because of the refugees that live there. When Ramadan season, that's the 40 days of fasting that Muslims observe. The iftar dinner is a very special dinner that they do when Muslims fast over the 40 days. Every evening they break the fast at sunset. But this is like the highlight of the faith, right? And this is one of the ways you can get involved in ecumenical and interfaith dialogue and experiences.
And anyone's invited. You don't have to be Muslim to go.
Yeah, you can just go on Saturday, right?
So this is the opposite. This is welcoming. This is what sharing food.
Right.
You know what we appreciate about having a meal is inviting people to the table, not excluding people from the table.
Exactly. And so I hope that this week we will spend some time figuring out how we include people and how we exclude people from something as simple as food and eating and breaking bread and sharing bread. And, you know, the other thing is, what is your business doing to collaborate with things that are going on in the community? I'm really proud of Refuge Coffee for doing this, because the woman that runs Refuge Coffee, Kitty, is a retired Christian pastor. So this is a way she's integrating Refuge Coffee into the community. All the baristas she hires for this coffee shop are all refugees, and they get this training to become baristas. It gives them a leg up into the community to get jobs and stuff. And so this is a way she's engaging with her community. I wonder, what are some of the ways that you business owners out there are engaging with the realities of your community? The people that are in your community and what they're facing, what they're celebrating, good and bad. How are you integrating your business to be part of that conversation? One of the other things I'd like to see happen in Clarkston is for businesses to promote other businesses. They're locally owned shops, coffee shops in Clarkston that don't get the press that Refuge Coffee gets, mostly because of Kitty's expertise, right? But mostly because those other coffee shops are owned by indigents of Clarkston, you know, refugees, and they probably cater to their own community. My challenge and invitation this week to our listeners is, go out of your way to find a business, a coffee shop, a restaurant to support that you would not ordinarily go to. Go up Buford Highway if you're in the local area. Go to Gwinnett County to Koreatown. You know, go to Clarkston to the Ethiopian coffee shop down the street. Go get out of your bubble. Go and experience the food, the smells, the senses. And light your senses with the full experience of someone else's culture by using food, coffee, or whatever to cross these artificial cultural borders that we build for ourselves. Cross them, break them down.
And I appreciate it when my friends, because I live in Brookhaven, which is very close to Buford, and so many great restaurants, and they do share the restaurants they enjoy going to, and we do make it has become kind of part of our social life to go try different places, and you know, they're generally inexpensive, delicious, and not far away. So, and kids tend to like, and when you expose your kids to different kinds of foods when they're young, they're much more open-minded about trying new things instead of limiting their meal, the choice of food that they have.
But you know, we do have to have this awkward aspect to the conversation, Jennifer. Just because you're experiencing something new doesn't mean that you now go gentrify your whole cooking experience. Like you were talking about cumin. Tell me.
Oh, so when I got married in 2000, I started going to Egypt with my ex-husband, and also when we lived in Brooklyn, there's a large Arab neighborhood there, so there were spice markets there that catered to Arabs, and also halal meat markets, which is prepared. Halal meat is prepared a certain way according to Islam, which is actually shown to be cleaner because the blood is drained out of the animal.
As kosher is to Jewish, halal is to Muslims.
Similar, yeah. So I was exposed to all these Egyptian spices that have been used for thousands and thousands of years, and it's been proven that cumin, now as we know, lowers blood pressure, improves heart function, and so does caraway and turmeric. And so my kids, also my ex-husband happened to be an excellent cook, and he would prepare all of these fresh salads every night with fresh dressing and use these spices in the food. And when we went to Egypt, again, it was most everyone that we knew, we were using this. So lo and behold, maybe 2006, 2007, 2008, I start to notice that the Kroger grocery store has these small, and we would get like tubs of it, like, I don't know how I even describe a large tub for a relatively expensive price. And then I go to the grocery store and there's maybe a half an ounce or an ounce or a couple ounces of cumin for $5. So it's like, oh, we're just going to go down the street to the Arab market and get, 20 times as much and then all of a sudden it's being touted as, oh my gosh, we've discovered that cumin can do this and that. And actually now, like, Egyptians and people living in the Middle East have known this for thousands of years. It's just that you're becoming aware of it. Right. So this cultural appropriation of spices.
Yeah. Go eat, enjoy the food, ask questions, be curious. But you don't have to take it over, which reminds me, oh my gosh, I forgot to tell you this. There was this post on Facebook about Dole. Did we talk about this before?
No.
Dole made this jerk chicken. Oh my gosh.
I read that.
Did we talk about this on the show? No. Dole makes this canned jerk chicken, right? That looks like white chicken. And then they cut up bananas and put it on it. Yeah. And then raisins. And oh my gosh. First of all, it was funny because everybody was repulsed by the sight of this chicken. But that's what cultural appropriation is about. Why should a company like Dole go and make canned or bagged whatever jerk chicken that can supposedly be easily
the Dole version of jerk chicken?
The Dole version. It is nothing like it in any way, shape, or form. Jerk chicken is a Jamaican dish. It is spicy as all get go. If you don't like spices, don't bother eating it. The picture of this jerk chicken was so
I was
bland.
confused looking at it. I didn't know what was going on. But I don't eat jerk chicken, but I didn't see what I've seen or what I've known about it was not what that was. That's
right, but it's like gentrifying chicken, right? Or gentrifying the jerk chicken. That's
taking all the flavor out of it. That's what Americans do. We take all the flavor out of it.
Just leave it alone. Leave it alone. You can learn from an expert how to make it. You can adapt your recipe to yourself. But now to go and begin to make money off of it, what are we doing, people? What are we doing?
Yeah.
Let's think about where we spend our dollars this week, okay?
Well, more on this.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.